who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come in this place, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Won't you please come? Please come. Won't you please come? Yeah. And we say, amen, 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 amen. Amen, 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 amen. Yeah. Amen, 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 amen. Amen, 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 amen. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of all our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Against us, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. We say, amen, 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 amen. Amen, 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 amen. Yeah, amen, 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 amen. Amen, 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 amen. Jesus' name.
Wake up, mommy.
Sing to me, sing to me, sing to me, sing to me.
Sing to me, sing to me, sing to me, sing to me. Mommy, sing to me, sing to me, mommy, sing to me, sing to me, mommy, sing to me, sing to me, mommy, sing to me, sing to me,
Mommy, sing to me, sing to me. 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 Mommy, girl, did you know that you used to live on my tummy? Mommy, girl, did you know I'm in love with me, your mommy? Sing to me, sing to me. Mommy, sing to me, sing to me. Mommy, sing to me, sing to me. Mommy, sing to me, sing to me.
mommy, sing to
I
me,
love you.
sing to me, mommy, sing to
I
me,
love you.
sing to me, mommy, sing to
I
me,
love you.
sing to me, mommy, sing to me, sing to me.
You are my world. You are my world. My favorite girl. Na, 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 na. You are my world. My favorite girl. My favorite. You are my world. My favorite girl. You are my world. My favorite girl.
Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome. Let me just add some little background music real quick. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Marsha Streety, Quality Queen TV, Sharon, Leading in Light, Incoming, The Opinionators, Evangelist Val, sis. Let's see who else we have in here. Meek, Sherry Cooper. Thank you to my new mods for also being here. Listen, I am so excited for tonight's live as we speak about a topic that is very near and dear to a lot of our hearts. So, as most of you may or may not know, April is Autism Awareness Month. And I thought it would be really awesome to hear firsthand accounts of like fellow parents navigating this autism journey. Um, but first, I wanted to introduce a very special guest. I might be a little biased because she is my daughter, and she's the very favorite person in my world. Naomi. She is 14, and she has. Let me see. You were diagnosed with autism, I think, at a year and a half. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Yes, 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 yes. So before I invite Evangelist Val and Sammy from Quality Queens TV up here to the panel, I just kind of wanted to open this up to give everyone a first perspective or a firsthand account, from my daughter as someone who has autism that went from completely nonverbal to verbal. And then after that, I will allow her to leave, and then we'll kind of get into it. Uh, you know, Parents talking about parenting autism, basically. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask you some questions, my child. What does autism mean to you?
To me, autism means that you're gifted and not everyone realizes it and finds it hard to understand how other people think or feel, and that should be talked about more. I have a lot of love and respect for people, and I love animals. I also feel things deeper than a lot of people do, which I would never change.
All right. I love that. I really do. And I think that tonight's going to go very, very well because you're going to be able to speak to, there's a lot of autistic people on the spectrum who either can't verbalize how they feel. So we are very blessed that you are able to do that, at this point in your life. And let's be clear. When Naomi was first diagnosed around a year and a half, she was hitting all of her mile markers, everything. Naomi was actually a true vaccine injury. And how it came about with her, and then I'll get back to the questions, was when we had moved to North Carolina from South Carolina, the medical facility that we went to did not pay attention, and they gave my daughter the same vaccine twice within 3 days. And I ain't gonna hold you. They had to call the police on me and everything because I tried to snatch that lady up. I'll just put it. My child always laughing. She know how her mama is. I don't play about her at all. All right, but that's gonna come later in the live. But yes, Naomi was one of the very few vaccine injuries. I believe it was the MMR, and it was like a cocktail type vaccine. Anyway, let me get back to these questions. So what is or was the most difficult part of growing up with autism?
For me, it was hard sometimes because people made smart remarks about having autism and making fun of it and joking about it when it's not, and because when some people might not have the experience with it or they think it's a bad thing when it's not, and sometimes they used to make me feel like I'm dumb because I couldn't verbalize at the time, but I'm not dumb. I'm pretty smart. We all think differently, and it's hard to communicate and pick up things quicker when we are overwhelmed. It's not a competition. We all move at our own pace, and there's nothing wrong with autism.
Right. I love that. And speaking of being able to communicate verbally, what frustrated you the most? When you couldn't really speak or communicate verbally, like what frustrated you? That so much that it was something that you wanted to express.
What frustrated? Oh gosh, what frustrated me the most was myself because I felt like I was an outcast, and like I said in the other question, it was hard for me to pick up things and express myself.
It still is for me at times, and that's okay. I couldn't speak yet. It was hard to express what I needed, so I would get frustrated, and all I could do was scream or act out what I needed. Like I said before, it's not a race, and it's okay to move at your own pace. I wanted to express how I felt, but I was worried that I would still get picked on for it. And I don't care. I'm not going to let other haters put me down for my autism.
Period. Pooh. Okay. And so, Naomi, how do you embrace your autism?
Well, I just be myself, and I learned that other people will like you for you. I outgrew certain limitations of my autism and came out of my shell. Now I'm confident, have a huge personality. I love art and fashion, and I use music to express myself.
Yes, you do. Let me tell y'all something. When I say Naomi keeps me at the mall, she constantly, Io and Val, a lot of y'all know, Auntie Val said, tell them Naomi, okay?
That's right.
Naomi keeps me at the mall because she is her own little fashionista. And a lot of that comes from her artistic side. Um, she's she gets that a lot from my mother. My mother was like that also. Okay, moving on. If you could help people understand you or others with autism, what would you say to them?
I would say there is nothing wrong with having autism. Be kind and patient, and that takes time to know each person for who they are. If it's a small kid, don't yell or talk down to them. If you can sit down and see them eye to eye, it will make it less scary for them.
Now that I will agree with. I learned that when we were going through ABA therapy is applied behavioral analysis. And that was most difficult because parents are not allowed to be in there when the therapist is working with the child.
Yeah.
So it broke my heart to like hear you screaming. You couldn't really speak yet. And it was hard. And so, but what your ABA therapist taught me was to meet you at your level. Like it's already scary for kids that have no type of limitations. It's already scary for kids to get screamed at from this giant that's towering over them. And you kind of helped me to understand that also. When I would get on Naomi's level and talk to her face to face, she was more receptive, you know. And so, okay, so speaking of limitations, what do you think of being labeled disabled or special needs?
Well, I felt like an outcast, and I don't like being labeled disabled or special needs. I'd used to get picked on for having autism, and I know what it's like to get picked on, and bullying others isn't cool. I always felt like I'm not smart at all, but as I got older, I realized that everyone is smart in their own ways and in different ways, and everyone goes at their own pace. It's not a competition.
I know that's right, girl. You actually, you truly changed my perception. That's why I don't call you disabled or special needs, because you kind of rephrased that for me in my own thinking. You know, Naomi used to, from the education standpoint, when it came to sports, they had Naomi in special need. What was it called? Special Olympics, right? And Naomi was out there knocking it out the park. This girl had medals, all type of stuff. But it also opened her eyes up to other children who were just like her, with their autism. Autism itself is the spectrum is so broad, you know, and so she really thrived in that environment because she saw those who were lower functioning at the time. And I know that there's a stigma between lower functioning and high functioning, but with Special Olympics, it's an even playing field. And she was very in tune to like her teammates, um, but Naomi, as she's gotten older, she went through a phase where she got embarrassed about being on the EC bus. They call it exceptional children's bus or the handicap bus, right? And especially in middle school, she said, I don't want to be on that bus. People are going to tease me, and that's a real thing, So thank you for saying that. We just got a few more questions here. I'm going to let you get back to your friends, girlfriend. Who inspires you the most?
My mom always inspired me since day one. She's the only parent out of two of my parents that actually raised me and loved me. She's wise, intelligent, and a caring, hardworking mom. She always put me first and made me feel like being unique is amazing, and it is what makes me awesome. She supported me and helped me out while I was low functioning at the time, till I was 11. She always made sure I was okay, and without her in my life would have went downhill. She was there when I needed her most, and I'm glad she's here, and I love her.
Oh, look, some of y'all out there probably thinking I wrote that for her to read. Honey, no. My baby. I appreciate that, baby. That means a lot. It means a lot. Thank you. What do you want to be when you grow up, and why?
Well, I have 3 careers. And
3?
Yes, 3.
Okay, girl.
You got a problem with 3?
That's more money. Generational wealth. Go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
And those 3 are firefighting, famous celebrity, actor, and singer. For firefighting ever since I was 5, when a fire truck came to my house back in Arizona, the firefighters were so kind, and right when they let me get a tour inside their fire truck, I fell in love at first sight with firefighting and wanted to follow my passion for it. I also want to prove to others out in the world that women can do anything they set their mind to. We can do sports, activities, and jobs that mostly men do. And that's another reason why I joined wrestling, is to prove that other girls can do other things like wrestling. What's another one?
This is you. I'm not saying you what to say.
Wow, okay. Oh, football. And I think police officer was the other one.
Oh yeah, male dominant type. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Anyways, oh yeah, never mind. I know what I'm talking about. And now to this day, I am one of the girl wrestlers at my school. And to all the girls out there, for the other men that tells you can't do this or that, well, I'll say other people, you are capable of what you want to do. Never say never. And for acting and singing, I feel like there needs to be more autism representation in other shows and kid shows nowadays. I want to be a part of that. I want to show other kids and adults that having autism is a blessing, not a curse, and prove to the other world that autism isn't a bad thing. And what I noticed this isn't just about kids with autism, but what I noticed, especially not in other shows, that there hasn't really been representation in other conditions, especially like skin and body conditions. For example, like Black people with vitiligo, heterochromia, or chromia.
What is that?
Like when a person is born with one colored eye and another one.
Oh, you got family like that.
Yeah.
2 different color eyes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what that was called.
Yeah.
Listen, let me pause you right there. Naomi stays on Google. Okay? Google is like a godparent to her.
Okay, not too much.
Oh, yeah, I ain't gonna. Yeah,
we
ain't gonna hurt your godmom's feelings.
So
I'm just saying, Google educates this girl, and she prioritizes
baking to life.
Yeah, I love bacon. That's
Very
not
much.
to be discussed on this live.
It should be next
we're
time.
not talking about that.
It should be next time.
But she truly researches, things for herself. She doesn't just go like word of mouth. So, but sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. So, sorry, I had to cough real quick.
You're talking about the skin conditions, the hetero something you said.
Oh, heterocrania.
Okay.
Also, besides that, black gingers, like black people that are sometimes born with ginger hair,
Yeah.
and black people that are born with albinism, and other disabilities like Down syndrome, autism, and dyslexia, etc. There has been a ton of bullying with that as well. And as a mixed African American that goes to mostly an all-white school, I know what it's like to get bullied for your race, disability, natural hair, and everything. And I want to make others feel like being different is okay, and there's nothing wrong with yourself. You're beautiful how you are, and that doesn't change who you are, because people who should be yourself, I like to be a part and get those kinds of representations out in the world. Like in other shows like Bluey, for example. Bluey is for everyone. They teach you and have a ton of representations for kids and adults, like ADHD, infertility, death, PTSD, and more.
Oh my God. I didn't even know some of that stuff.
Yeah,
you
Asian.
Okay. Look, I can't wait. Listen. Don't call me old. Shit. Okay, hold on a second. No, I'm gonna tell them that story after you leave. We're gonna get through this because hold on a second. So these are my last 3 questions. This one is, do you know how much I love you and how proud I am of you as your mom? And if so, how can you tell?
I can tell because your smile and mood and body language. You always supported me, and I know you love me lots because you are there for me, and you always tell me every day that you love and miss me.
You ain't lying. Listen. I cannot stand being away from my daughter. She is literally my mini me. And this picture y'all see up on the screen, that's me as a kid. My daughter looks just like me, but instead of frowning like that, she smiles all the time. I promise you. Okay.
And my eyes are brown.
Yeah, mine are hazel green and hers are brown, but she looks just like me. Okay. All right. How will you be successful if you have children of your own with autism?
I'd be a great mama. I will be successful by teaching them about autism, helping and supporting them, and let them know that they are allowed to be themselves and don't listen to others that are negative, telling you things and making you feel bad that you have autism. Like I said before, there's nothing wrong with autism, and always be yourself, and that's all that matters.
Period. I love that. That is so beautiful. I'm not rushing you to be a parent, girl. You're only 14. However,
I will never do teen pregnancy.
Period. I love it. Okay. Last question.
You don't know how scary childbirth is?
Do I know how scary?
Yes.
Honey, I was in labor, active labor, for 23 and a half hours. I thought I was going to not make it.
Well,
okay?
When I had my first kid, you gotta give me Wingstop. You gotta bring some at the hospital.
Somehow food always comes up. Okay.
I know you're not talking.
Last question.
Okay.
Last question.
Okay.
If you can encourage a parent dealing with a child that has autism, what would you say?
Oh, they thought that picture was me.
Nope, that's me, Pixie. Okay, did you hear my question?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I heard.
Okay.
I would tell them to support them throughout, and I know it's hard and pretty stressful and frustrating, but I know you guys can get through this together, and always let your child know that it's okay to have autism. Being different is great, and there's nothing wrong with them having autism. And yes, it takes time, but I'll let them go at their own pace. This isn't a competition. There is no winner or loser. You won your own race.
I love that. Now, thank you for that. And
You're welcome.
what I will say is, Naomi, I tell you this all the time, that you are the absolute best part of me. And when I gave birth to you, I felt so thankful that God gave me another chance at life. As you know, I was fresh from combat. As most of you know, I was a dual war combat. Well, I am a dual war combat Marine Corps veteran. And at the time, I had just came back from a horrible deployment to Afghanistan. And I came back feeling empty and full of guilt from like all the things that I had done while I was in combat. And so I needed somebody, something to love more than myself because I came back as an empty vessel. Okay. And so when you came around, and she was very much planned, all right. And I just watched you from the moment you were born all the way till now. And I recognize and just see how bold and beautiful, like silly my child is, a jokester. Okay, y'all? She's intelligent, she's kind. She does not have a problem standing up, for what's right. Very empathetic and vibrant. She's caring, God-fearing, she's nurturing. I mean, and the girl can dress down, okay? You have so many qualities about you that, a lot of people are like, oh, it speaks to you, Mom. No, that was you, and the family laughed at why I named this channel Section 8 Adventures Through Adversity. One, we both think this world is ghetto, okay? But then being your mother and you my mini-me, like we've just pushed through so many different adversities. We're going to get into that when I invite the other panelists up. But I just want to say how much I love you. I love you, everything in my being and beyond. I thank God for allowing me to be a mother.
Oh,
So,
you do?
Don't play with me.
So what's that story you're going to tell them?
Oh, I was going to tell them about okay, let me just say this real quick, and then I'm kicking her out of my room.
Yes.
Naomi loves Wingstop, and this girl, she's in chorus, she's in band, she was in wrestling, she's in track. So she decided, and I think Val heard this rendition.
Oh, she did.
She decided to swap out the words to the Star Spangled Banner, and she came up with a Wingstop song. And then she also came up with the song to con me into getting her Chick-fil-A. Yes. So, I don't know. Maybe on another live, I'll have you torture them. I mean, let them hear your
Okay,
song.
now you're just hating. You're hating.
All right,
It's like
so listen. Yeah, you do have vocals. Thank you so much. So everyone drop those autism puzzles and hearts in the chat. My baby is about to leave. Let's show the star. I'm sorry, the star of the show is about to leave. And I really, really enjoyed you answer my questions. And blue is the color of the month.
My favorite color too.
And it is also, right, those hearts and those puzzle pieces. So thank you. I will let you get back to your friends.
Oh wait, I got one request. Since they watch my live and stuff, and it's Autism Month, I think I should get Wingstop twice this month.
Oh my God! Oh, speaking of, there is a gentleman. I normally won't be putting I don't have Cash App, but I put a Venmo up there. There's a gentleman on YouTube and a few other social media sites. His name is Vernon Jackson, I believe. He gives free haircuts to children or people with special needs based off of donations. So whatever I do receive tonight through Venmo, I will be posting the donation made to Vernon Jackson. If you don't want to do it through me, Miss Cleo put the link to his page, and you can just go in his More section or About, I believe, and click on it and donate directly to his site. I just, wanted to do something nice. Me and my daughter did. We will be donating, and I will be posting the donation receipt also. So if it's on your heart to do that, please, I will be truly grateful, and I'm sure those children will as well. So,
wow, Pixie Dust, my Eval will torture us if she starts singing. Is crazy.
Yeah. Oh,
what
you have
no.
Auntie Val be singing and torturing us.
Oh, I heard that. I read that wrong.
Yes. Okay.
I can sing it.
All right. No. Not this live, another live.
Okay.
I love you. Thank you. I'm gonna let her.
Hey, why are you pushing me out? No.
Okay.
I gotta expose you real quick.
No, Naomi, go. So I'm going to. This is parenting time now. But thank you so much, babe. You can have my knowledge. Go ahead. You
Finally,
earned
you
them.
share your knowledge.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to drop the link. Let's see, because I specifically invited Evangelist Val. Yes, honey. She said, "Can I say bye to my fans one last time?" They can't see you walk like that, Naomi.
It's okay. They don't gotta know that. Bye.
Bye, girl. Oh my God. All right. So I dropped the link for Sammy and Evangelist Val to come on up so that we can just kind of get into talking about yes, incoming opinion. She is very animated. Very. And she like I'm more closed off and she like the entire community knows her. Okay? Absolutely. Here we go. Hey sis.
Hello,
Uh,
is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes. I can see it in your smile. I'm all you're ever. La 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 la
you still haven't figured out them lyrics.
la 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 la. Hold on, I gotta get my jag box.
How,
La la
how she
la
is
la la
gone.
la la. La 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 la. Get it, Cleo. La la la. You see how some of them be feeling it. La la la.
Oh my
You hear
God.
me, Naomi? You hear your TT?
She ran. She ran.
Sometimes when my eyes are on the
Val,
floor,
we're trying to keep our look.
sometimes I
The
hear
numbers are
the
dropping,
people
Val.
say, Val, sing some more. And when my brown liquor's at EJ's house,
Oh my
sometimes I see there might be a rat or
Don't encourage
even
her,
a
Lola.
mouse. Hello, is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes.
Say it again,
Oh,
Pixie.
I can see it in your smile. I'm all you've ever wanted.
Save me, Sammy.
Ah,
Save me.
hey, Sammy.
Welcome, ladies. Welcome.
You are a trip, honey. Hey, ladies. Thank you for the
Hey, y'all.
welcome, Cynthia.
I'm gonna go on mute and
Yes.
y'all talk because I know I got that thing in the back. So I'm a mute. I'm a mute. Let y'all take in all the music. I will be doing a what's it called when all the people come to hear you sing and they throw money at you, but it's not at a strip club.
Uh,
I'm gonna be at a concert. I will be having a
what,
concert.
Val?
Somebody type concert with a K at the end.
Mm-mm.
Concert.
We
I will
talked
be
about this already, Val.
I will be having a concert.
People
Okay.
pay to go to concerts. You paying us to show up is different, Val.
Y'all go ahead. Y'all go ahead.
You are too funny.
Welcome, Queen Quality TV / Sammy. How are you doing?
Hey, I am doing good. How are you?
I am good. I was sweating
That
there for a minute because Naomi was about to tell y'all about my love of bacon, and I don't need all my business out here on these YouTube streets. Okay, I
that
don't.
was such a sweet segment with you two. Shout out to Naomi. She is
Thank you,
very intelligent. You guys did great.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
So obviously, this portion of this live is about our perspectives as parents. So, Sammy, thinking back, can you tell us how did you have any indications that Chance was going, like, how was your pregnancy? Let me put it that way. Like, did it seem
Um,
like normal by doctor standards, or did you have any
mhm.
difficulties?
No, it did seem normal actually. Once I found out that I was pregnant and I went to my first appointment, everything was fine as far as I knew. You know, I think I was to start seeing him. Oh my gosh, this was so long ago. I don't even remember, honestly. Um, but all of a sudden, in January, like I think my due date was in April, and in January of that same year is when I had started experiencing like pressure. It was so strange. And long story short, I ended up going into labor early than expected. And so Chance was born at 28 weeks. So it was quite the experience. It definitely
Yeah.
was.
Wow,
Hmm.
28 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, my pregnancy, well, what I will say is over the
Hmm.
years, those of us that were deployed or in the military, a lot of my peers, subordinates, even a lot of my leadership, those of us that were deployed to certain areas, we noticed that the two common things that was going on was cancer, autism, um, there was three, ADHD.
Hmm.
We as parents were getting
Hmm.
cancer, depending on which region you were in. Like where I was, lung cancer was prevalent. Um, and then
Oh.
our children come to find out, the majority of them either had
Hmm.
ADHD or autism. And
What
so
year would you say this is?
I got pregnant. I conceived her in 2010. But I did
Hmm.
a few deployments between 2003 all the way up to 2000. I came back in 2010, right?
See, mhm.
Go
I
ahead.
had no idea. I had no idea. I didn't even, autism was the furthest thing from my mind when my son was nonverbal. Um, because when he came out of the NICU, I had him evaluated for early intervention. So he was getting occupational therapy, speech therapy, and not until he was almost turning 3, I'm like, what's going on? Like, why isn't there any improvement in his speech? And I mean, those professionals at that time, they didn't even mention autism. It wasn't until I put him in a daycare and the teacher of the class he was in, she was like, Chance is showing some behaviors that my son had when he was around his age. She was like, you should really look into, autism and see if maybe, he might be autistic. And I was like, hmm, she might be onto something. And so it wasn't until then, that was when I started the process of getting him, evaluated and then looking into, programs and different things like that. So that was how it started for me.
So I didn't realize until much later how many of my comrades had children with autism. There, out
Wow.
of all of us, there was only two or three of ours who were also vaccine injuries. Mine was a straight up medical negligence, right? The other two,
Mm,
it was like they had a reaction to it, right? Um,
mhm,
One was also around the age of 2, and the other was a little bit later. I think his son and my daughter was the only one who was a girl that had the autism, right? The rest of them had boys.
mm.
So I thought that
Yep.
that was
Yeah, you talked
interesting
about
too. Low key, I
that.
did drop the link. I believe it was low key to ask if she could come up. Um,
Oh, awesome.
and so yeah. So for me, there was no indications. Now, the biggest thing for me,
Mhm.
I ain't gonna hold you. I was eating so damn much while I was pregnant. I went through like 5
Mhm.
doctors for real. I was sensitive. I fired so many doctors because they told me I was eating too much and blah blah blah. And then they told me my daughter was gonna be born on my birthday, and I said, "Oh no, baby, we're not doing that. That's my day." So I got to walking it out in Walmart with my mom. And then later that
Mhm.
night, I went into labor, you know.
So
And
was she full term
she
and
was she was born 8 days early, but she was still considered
okay.
full term. Right. I
Mhm.
was more
Yeah,
embarrassed.
that was.
Yeah, because I'm like, it was so many times the doctors, I was arguing with the doctors. They're like, you need to slow down. You're gaining weight too fast. I said, well, I'm eating for two. They said, ma'am, your baby is the size of a blueberry. You are eating for you.
Uh,
And I got so mad and I fired them. And I went to another one, to a different one. Hi,
wow.
Loki.
Hey guys, hey.
Hey. Hi, welcome. Welcome to the
Yeah.
panel.
Thank you
How
Hi,
are
so
you?
much.
Loki. Hi.
And congrats on this channel. I was on a replay the other night dancing to it's this one thing that got me tripping. I said, why she got my favorite song up there?
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Hey,
Yes.
Marie.
Absolutely.
But go ahead.
Did,
Let's go on.
did
Let's
you have
finish.
anything to add or as far as the
Yes.
pregnancy or go ahead?
Yes. So when you talked about the pregnancy, because Dante was our first autistic child in the family. And he's now 25. But when I got pregnant with him, I had to go on blood thinners. I had to shoot myself up
Mm.
twice a day with the heparin shots because my
Hmm.
blood was starting to
Mm.
thicken when I was pregnant with him. And
Oh,
every
wow.
so then I think about 3 months. I was going to a high risk doctor for my pregnancy. And around 3 months, they did some special, it wasn't a regular ultrasound, something more advanced. And they could actually see what was going on with the baby clearer.
Mm.
And they made some
Mm-hmm.
statements that I may want to consider terminating my pregnancy.
Oh
Mm.
And I
my.
said, what do you mean terminate? Now, this is the first time I went to the doctor by myself, and they're saying this to me. What do you mean? So they said something about the kidney. Something was going on with the kidney, or he may be on one of those coloscopy bags. He
Hmm.
wasn't going to be able to, yeah, something going on with the kidney, and maybe not be able to. He was going to be on one of those bags. So I broke down and cried, and I said, you know what? I said, Dante's meant to be here because I had already named him and everything. I said, I'm going to take my chances with my son. Whatever's going to be, will be. We went through the pregnancy. Um, it was long. And then I went into labor. And as I'm giving birth to him, the cord wrapped around his neck. So now we had to slow down the delivery. So Dante lost a little bit of oxygen. And when he came to, he seemed perfectly healthy, though. But then we started having colicky nights where he was not really sleeping. He only seemed to be very comfortable with his dad. Whenever his father was home, he wanted his father to hold him. I later on learned I was doing too much, where babies like to be rocked. He didn't like rocking. The baby swings, he hated that, but he liked car rides. But anywho, he eventually started saying words, getting speech out. I thought everything was going good. And then when he got closer to one, all of his speech vanished. He would say nothing. So we got nervous. He still was not walking either. He was like holding on to objects, but he was not trying to make steps on his own. So we did start the early interventions. He had PT, OT, and speech.
Hmm.
And finally, we started school as well. By the time he was around 3 years old, he started a special school that started working with him more and more. And by the time he was in kindergarten, Dante starts speaking full sentences. I can't get Dante to shut up. Okay. I love him to death. And when I was listening to your daughter, I was laughing so hard because she has a confidence on her, and it reminds me so much of him. You can't tell him nothing, he knows it all. Okay?
That part.
Yes. He knows it all. He jokes, he plays, he wants to dress me, tell me what I should look like, what I should wear, what wig is
Hmm.
good or not.
Yeah.
He took
I want to jump in here right quick with Loki. Loki's son, just like Stacy's daughter, very fashion forward individual.
yes,
I've
yes,
had the pleasure of talking to both of these young people. Very outspoken, very smart, very have a like leader personalities,
yes.
loving, kind, and at the same time, their stories. I want to say now, my son is adopted. We adopted Champion. Um, he was we fostered him throughout the young lady's pregnancy, and he was born to term, and she had six other kids that were already had already been adopted, and he was supposed to be her he was baby number seven. And so we fostered him for a year after she had given birth, and then the adoption went through, and he did everything ahead of time, um, but at around two, he stopped walking and he stopped
Mm.
verbalizing. So he was able to say mama. He was able to say, he called all his brothers Bubbas. He had stopped saying that. He stopped eating. He wouldn't take any solid foods anymore. So he had gone back to taking uh food, taking, so whereas he was taking food from the table, he went all the way back to like um y'all know I lose words, but y'all know what I'm saying.
Pureed food or for
Yeah,
yeah.
pureed or formula.
Yeah.
Baby
And
food.
so his pediatrician, she said, well, I think maybe this is just like a little bit of a regression. I don't think, because he's not doing anything else. He just isn't giving her what she thought was autism. But I was in touch with the lady who had adopted his other siblings, and she said three of the other kids had autism. And so she said, well, we'll
Mm.
watch him. And as the months started to go by, he started to do less and less. And
Wow.
having all the other boys, I was concerned because I had other children. None of them were autistic, but they had, other health issues. Like I've talked about, I had one of my sons that had a stroke when he was 10 months old. That was never heard of. And then I had a son that
Mm.
had was he was diagnosed as being unable to withstand sounds. So
Hmm.
he wore headphones a lot, and so I knew that there were things, you know what I mean? Like, but back then,
Mhm.
at that time for us, it just, autism wasn't really something that was talked about a lot. So,
Mm-mm.
but here in my 50s now, I was well attuned to that was a possibility. So with Champion, I just basically told this pediatrician, I was like, let's throw caution to the wind and let's check it out. So she went ahead and started getting him tested, and they said, well, the food regression is kind of the only thing that's really making us feel like it could be autism. Let's go ahead and, start trying to get him to eat baby food. He wouldn't eat anything. He would only take um, milk and then Pediasure. And even now, he still now is on liquids and pureed foods, and to God be the glory for that. He's never been on a
G tube.
uh, feeding tube ever.
Hmm.
Never needed a feeding tube because he gains weight really well. But he's in feeding classes because he just doesn't like texture. He doesn't like anything to take. He doesn't even want to see you eat food. He's just
Yeah,
turned off
that's
by
big
it.
with
Okay.
them.
Right. And so what made me jump in right there with Loki is he started talking when we decided, okay, he was like 2.5. He said something to me one day. I had my back turned, and we have a huge dog. He's a Great Pyrenees. He's probably about 130 pounds, and he was coming down the stairs. And Champion, we have always kept them separate because Champion was nonverbal, and so you don't want a baby that can't say anything around a dog that big. And
Mm-mm.
so Champion said, doggy loose. And it made me just like snatch my head around. And I was like, oh my God, he said something. And so then we were all up and running with being able to say things and recognizing that when he wanted to speak or when he felt in danger, he would talk. And so they immediately put him in ABA therapy and got him to saying words so quickly. And I will give Roxanne a lot of credit for that because Roxanne kept telling me, she said, he spends a lot of time in that house with you, and you and the boys speak a lot for him, and so he doesn't have a need to talk. Like, there's no need that,
Right,
there's no
right.
reason to talk.
Yeah.
Every time he needs anything, you all know what it is, or before he'll point at it and you'll grab it before he says anything. And so he was in school for a week, and I mean, he was talking, and it was words first, and then it was sentences, and then he was ABCs and colors and numbers, and able to do math equations, and then reading books. And so it is amazing what you feel like initially when you feel like they're not doing anything, and then when they start, like that little bit of movement,
Yes,
that
yes,
little bit of motion, and how they take off. It is so absolutely amazing to see that change. It's almost like a light switch. And
yep. Quick.
I'm gonna be up here mostly just listening because I want to not be interrupting with the background noise. And he and I are gonna be playing, but so I just want to kind of get his story in here a little bit. So that's why I didn't
That's
want to
okay.
be rude, ladies, but I did want to just say this part. And so for now, so like right now, he can read books, like I was saying on my channel the other day, and he's so opinionated anymore. And when the boys try to talk for him, he's like, no, no. They're like, Champion said, and he's like, no, 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 no. I didn't say that. So it's like he's really able to conversate and get in the conversation. And when we pick him up from school, I always tear up this point because when we pick him up from school, the teachers are like, um, yeah, he wants to get the kids in line when it's time to go back to class, and then he gets everybody in line to get their book bags on, and he tells them to be quiet while we're waiting. And then sometimes my husband picks him up by himself, and he said he'll come home and tell me, he says, I'm waiting for Champion to come out. He won't leave until all the other kids parents are there to get them, and he says goodbye to everybody by their name. And he asked my husband in the back seat, he's like, Daddy, are we not getting gas today? Are we not going to see grandma today? My mother-in-law, she's been really sick. And there are just things that are a part of his everyday routine that he has to have done that are really important to him. And so I just think that these stories, Stacy, I thank you for this opportunity. I think these stories have to be told because there are so many moms that don't have an outlet and don't know that being told that your child has autism is not a bad thing anymore. It's
It's
not
not.
it just is not like
I
I can
wanted to
imagine.
touch on that.
Oh, go ahead,
I
hon. Go
wanted to
ahead.
touch, but before I do that, I wanted to just ask the panel real quick, global empires question. Did any of you have toxemia or eclampsia during pregnancy?
No, thank God, no,
No,
no.
she didn't.
All right. So what I wanted to touch on was
Wait a minute.
most of
Is eclampsia high? Is that high blood pressure?
I think they treat it the same. Like you get the swelling and the
The
like a
body
lot of
aches,
swelling.
Because
cramping.
she did.
Yeah.
Champion's biological mom did have high blood pressure during her pregnancy. Now that I know, she did.
Well, so um, one of the things that I found very difficult, and let me catch up on some of these comments. One of the things that I struggled with growing up in a very old school traditional household, right? When my daughter, like I've got videos of her talking, I mean, hitting every milestone, and then boom, after she had that real bad reaction, she stopped looking at me. She started lining things up, all of her toys
Right.
from
Yeah.
her bedroom all the way to the living room. She started, even though she couldn't talk anymore, um, she had somehow um, got OCD features, obsessive compulsive disorder features,
Yeah,
and we it got so bad. Like I literally had to, old school. The elders in my family was like, "Oh, just whoop her ass. She just acting out." By this time,
yep,
she's 2. And I was so depressed and so sad and scared because I knew that's not what she was doing. I
right,
saw these changes in her. She began to have a texture issue to where she went from eating everything to eating nothing. And I had to
Right.
give her Pediasure 3, 4 times a day, right?
Yeah.
And then she recognized her numbers since before she was 1. She used to do those little number puzzles. And the OCD, she would open up cabinets, clicking them a certain time. I could only go to the number 5 cash register, the number 5 gas station pump. Everything was a number 5, or it was a full blown, I mean, breakdown, meltdown, all of this. And so I struggle in a black household, or black family with the old school mentality. No, just whip her butt. And I'm like, that's not it. And
Right.
I tapped her a couple times. And Sammy, I want to know if you went through this too. Um, Early on, like even if you tap your baby legs, it starts to they translate that and they start hitting others. She started bashing
Mm.
her head at daycare to where I was having to pick her up.
Mm.
Naomi gave herself a concussion at 3 years old, and
Oh,
the
wow.
daycare was scared to intervene. So I'm like, y'all just gonna let my baby do this? So she started the head banging, the throwing
yes,
herself, the full blown meltdowns were, and I just felt so alone. And I just want to know, let's start with Sam. How did you
Hmm.
feel? Was there a level of acceptance in your family when Chance was diagnosed, or in the early part of?
No, not even acceptance, but understanding. I went through the same thing of like my mom and dad being like, you need to get a switch for him. Like, because it was like he just wouldn't listen and he would just keep going to the same things over and over, like turning the light switch on and off, on and off, on and off, messing with the light switch. I'd be like, stop, Chance, stop. They're like, you need to get a switch. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's the answer. Um, so I went through that moment as well, and it's funny that you mentioned that. But also I'll say understanding, like for some reason my dad had wanted to take him like on a road trip with him, and I'm like, no, he's not comfortable with that. He's not comfortable with you like that. Um, Not understanding why my son is like freaking out because he's alone with him in his car and I'm not there. Um, People don't understand that our children don't adapt to change, different environments. Um, I can't just go to a family function and expect my child to just be comfortable because you're my family. It doesn't work that
Exactly.
way.
exactly, exactly,
Yep. They
Sammy.
don't
Oh
get
my
it.
God.
They do not get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So we, I am big on making sure he is comfortable at all times. So if that consists of, we're home a lot, he loves it here, and I keep an environment that um he's happy in, but we do things here and there, and I have to prepare him for those things. We have to plan these things. He has to be made aware beforehand, and so that he knows what to expect. So that's just the type of environment that we have.
did either of you, that was one of the things also I noticed with Naomi. So a lot of kids or people with autism, they have to have headphones. In a lot of Naomi's pictures, y'all know those furry earmuffs?
Mm-hmm.
My
Hmm.
girl loved her pink furry earmuffs, and on almost all her pictures in preschool, it did not matter if it was 115 degrees outside. Naomi had
Hmm.
her earmuffs on, okay? And I recall we would be in like Target or any store, and um, we don't pay attention to how a wheel on a cart click 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 click. If it's off.
Right.
Naomi
Hmm.
would get so overstimulated she could hear it from aisles down,
The
just like
super
she could hear.
hearing.
Yeah, she could hear a kid crying. We might be in aisle, I don't know, 39. She could hear it from all the way in aisle 5. And I would look at her. Hey, melanated. I would look at her, and her eyes would just swell up with tears, and she would
Hmm.
grab her ears, even with the fuzzy earmuffs on, and she would feel everything. So that overstimulation, that
Yes.
high energy into others' emotions, that was what I picked up on her right away. If another
Mm-hmm.
kid was crying, it was like she felt this so deep down in her soul, you know. So
Hmm.
my question to all of you is, um, did your children with autism or family member have similar sensation or stimulation things about them?
I
Go ahead, Sammy.
I have a Okay, real quick. I'm actually really proud of Chance with this. So they had noticed that he seemed to get a little stimulated during lunchtime when he was in the cafeteria with all the other children, for lunch. And they tried them headphones with him like 2 days, and they said that he looked around and noticed that he was the only child with those headphones on, and he made the decision that he didn't want to wear them because he didn't want to be different. And so that was really a great moment for him. So I was just proud of that. But they
That's
tried it. They
powerful.
wanted to. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about you, Loki?
Yes, Dante could not tolerate certain sounds, and that was the head banging. That's when that would start. Hitting his head on the wall, running around holding his ears, and he also did not like anything on his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Did not like dirty hands. If someone came to greet him and they would put their hand out to shake, he would actually look at it and he would sniff it first, and then he would, touch, but then wipe his shirt afterwards. I said, "Oh my goodness!" But we did okay as long as, uh, because I used to have to take him to the laundromat with me. And I used to have Dante and the walkers, the walkers with the wheels on them.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
put them kids in there and let him run around in there with his little slipper socks on. So it was a lot going on. I had to expose him to a lot of different sounds early, but it was certain sounds that would do something to him, not all.
Um, how does he handle them now?
He's amazing because he no longer needs headphones at all. I
Okay.
have recently purchased some, and every time he might break them or lose them, it's not that big deal. Oh, I can get some later, but he can zero in and focus like
Um,
on
oh,
what it
sorry.
is he wants. Oh,
So with the how about this overstimulation aspect of it?
so when he would get overstimulated, that's when we could call rage, tantrums, meltdowns, and we would have to put him into a quiet place, get him away from everything, quiet place, and he would seem to calm down. This happened during his first birthday. This is when I recognized we can't have parties for him. It only has to be the family, because his first birthday party, where we've been used to doing that for years with all the kids in the family, but this child was overwhelmed. All the people, the movement, the music, the different faces. He just went into the room and he stayed there with his dad and his brother, and that's how he celebrated. Everything was brought to him. So as he did get a little older, that was Dante's thing. His bedroom was his safe haven. So anyone that would come to visit, they had to go to his room to visit him.
So I don't know if you know, we talked about briefly on the therapies. Naomi, she had occupational therapy, speech, ABA, and physical therapy, and then also psychological therapy or psych,
Okay.
right? That's when they did in order to get your child officially diagnosed, they have to go through a psychological test. And at
Right.
that time, I think it was about 2013, I fought and fought and fought. And what I will say is I had to advocate and not accept no for an answer,
Mm-hmm.
because it's hard for doctors to issue a psychological test to a child who is nonverbal, right?
Correct.
And so what they did initially, they diagnosed my daughter with an unspecified mood disorder, right? Until I got her, I just kept on these doctors. If this doctor wanted to be dismissive of me and my child, I got a new doctor. I wasn't playing that, right? Give
Right.
me somebody else since you want to dismiss me. I am telling you, what's going on is not normal. And
Correct.
so I went through that. It took, because she was not verbal, I had to learn sign language. We did baby sign language with her.
Oh.
My baby ended up, she was attracted to, like, I think at that time it was, oh, let me say this too. It was Peppa Pig. Um, I can't remember if it was Backyardigans. It was some dude in an orange bodysuit dancing and jumping around. He was a little creepy to me, but she loved it.
Was
Um,
he part of Barney?
You talking about Blippi?
what's the name of the show? The black guy with the hat and the mini fro with the all orange.
Oh no.
I forgot the name, but yo, she she couldn't
I
talk,
don't know
but
that
she would recite. They call it mimicking. She would
Yes.
watch
one.
one show, one cartoon. Oh, Pocoyo. Pocoyo. She used to love that. So Naomi was highly attracted to those bright colored cartoons, and they were all European or British, right?
Okay.
By the time she finally was able to talk, she had a British accent. Straight up.
Wow.
Okay, because all it took was for her to watch an episode one or two times, and instead of communicating with me, she would use her stuffed animals and she would mimic and script the entire episode, but with these animals.
Yes.
Okay, and yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let the
Mhm.
people know what mimic is, because Dante did it a lot, and I had to learn that they weren't his feelings. He
Correct.
was copying what
Correct.
he saw. Okay.
Yes. So yes, Yo Gabba Gabba was the dude. Thank you, Nick
Yes,
Cherie.
now I got it. Yes, yo,
Oh my
Gabba Gabba.
God.
I remember
Listen,
that
I could not stand that show because I mean it was good energy, but for some reason him in that orange suit used to just put me out. Okay. But Naomi used to, that was her thing. And so mimicking is it has nothing to do with them. They literally meant like they have this memory bank in their head and they use scripting, whatever they just saw on TV or wherever it is,
Heard.
they would script, they would act out that entire script, right? And regurgitate it almost
Right.
identically. Okay. And it had nothing to do with their emotions. It was just a newfound way of communicating,
Right.
right? And so yeah, so by the time Naomi started talking, she called me mummy, right? She had this British accent, and they were like, "Oh, where are you guys from?" I was like, "Girl, I'm from Detroit." He was from South Kakalaki. They're like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah."
Listen,
Okay.
but isn't that the same as echoing?
I'm not
Oh,
sure. I never
you're
heard it that
thinking
way. Could be.
So
echolalia.
yeah, so when they say, so like the conversation that we're having now, and then they're sitting in a room, well, or even if they just say the exact same thing that you said. So if I say, Naomi, did you have a good day? Have a good day. And
Yeah.
Right.
so somebody else might say, "Oh, she
Hmm.
had a good day," when in actuality, what she's doing is just
She's
repeating
repeating.
what I said
Hmm.
to her. And people
Right.
take that as, "Oh, she had a good day," but no, this is what she heard me say, and so she's repeating
Hmm.
it. And people will be like, "Well, look, she's getting better," but you as her parent, no, no, that's not what that is. It's
Right.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
And
So, okay,
essentially, they end up
go ahead.
lacking comprehensive, comprehensive skills. A lot of times, I know that's what we're working on. Um, so yeah, that's what you're referring to, right? Echolalia.
yes, yes, that's it, back, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, so, and yeah, I don't know where everybody's at in their journey with autism. Um, but like for me, I remember Naomi really loved when I read her Pete the Cat books.
Oh
And
yeah.
one day, and I have an actual video of this. We were in Target, and I just figured this is when she first started talking around 4. I
Hmm.
thought, I'm like, she's sitting in the front little thing, and I got her a new Pete the Cat book. Um, but she had seen it before from school, from daycare or preschool. Do you know I gave this girl the book and I go to lean over and grab her another one and she starts turning the page and out of nowhere just starts reading. She's mimicking. She couldn't read a lick, but she
Mm.
memorized the book from school and she starts
Hmm.
reciting page by page based off of the pictures and
Oh, yeah.
and I busted out crying in Target. I was so excited. I was happy. And then to hear your child's voice again,
Yes.
Right,
it, oh my
Yes.
God.
That's the thing.
Hmm.
When you, because you think it's never going to come back. You don't
right.
know what's going to happen, and you think,
Hmm.
especially with some of what we've heard of autism before our own children, and because it's so small, everyone groups our children into this small box. When they hear autism, they think very slow and behind and unable to learn,
Hmm.
Yeah.
when actuality they are, like she said, a spectrum, a high functioning and a low functioning, and you have that middle ground. So when the speech does come back and they are saying those words, that is music to our ears.
Right, right. Can I ask y'all something? When 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 you think back to like growing up in your neighborhood or family members, and you think about when they were labeled as ADHD or ADD or um, a little slow or something was wrong with them and nobody talks about it. And now you look at the what's called the autism spectrum. Do you not see like adults now that you grew up with and you're like, You know.
Oh, hell yeah.
I got diagnosed after my third TBI, traumatic brain injury, with adult ADHD, Val. Okay,
Oh, did you really?
I did, and I have
Oh,
to
okay. Well,
take.
I'm sorry.
No, because I
No,
know what you're
because I
talking
was
about.
not trying to throw shade,
Uh-uh.
but I think you told me that before.
Yeah,
It,
I take
and the
Adderall for it. That's why
ad.
some
Okay,
nights I be
okay.
hype and the rest I be chill. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
but they
I
didn't
think,
know.
and
They had no idea.
I think
We knew something
I
was
think
different.
one of my cousins, I think when we were growing up, he was like really extremely smart, but I remember him having, I think I had a female and a male cousin. She had she was really really smart and in college, but she would go through these phases when she would get in trouble or get talked to like it by the adults in the room or a certain way. She would bite herself. And I remember them telling us, like the teenagers, whatever you do, don't go out there messing with Lori. And we would be like, don't mess with Lori, but she's like 20 and we're like 16 or 17. And used to really like pique my interest as to why we weren't allowed to mess with her. And so we would mess with her because we wanted to see her act that way because we didn't understand it. And so now I kind of get it because I'm like, oh, when she would get really upset, this would be her reaction. Um, and they didn't understand it. You
No.
understand what I mean?
Right.
Back
No.
then, way back then, 40 years ago, they didn't know what was wrong with Lori. They had no idea. They thought she
Correct.
was just really smart and she was acting out. But in actuality, her brain didn't know what to do with what she felt, right? So there was something going on there, but they didn't know nothing about ADHD or autism. And so I
Nope.
think some of the ADH kids, once the ADHD came along, some of the ADH kids were being labeled ADHD and it could have been autism. So that's always just been something I wanted to, I felt like if I got with a group of moms in the same, kind of situation or whatever.
They gave them Ritalin.
Ritalin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
That's when they would give out Ritalin.
I want to answer this question from Tierra. She says, Stacy, how come parents can't be in the room during ABA therapy or applied behavioral analysis therapy? So there's a few other parents who are also currently going through ABA therapy. But Tierra, to answer your question, our children are so accustomed to being around us and in our environment that if we're around, it's hard for them to break those patterns. And
Hmm.
so a ABA therapist will come in typically in the home. They'll also accompany, like for me, Naomi was able to have 5 hours a day at school. What was it? 5 hours at school, um, and a couple hours at home, depending on the
Right.
day of the week. Right? She was in preschool, and they have to break these habit forming behaviors. And so another mom, Goody Topia, shout out to Goody, she's currently going through it. And I empathize with her because when she first started ABA, they told her the same thing as me. You are going to hear your child screaming. You are going to hear them throwing a tantrum, this, that, the other. Do not
Right.
come out
Right.
because you are going to break the process.
Mm-hmm.
She
If I
later
can,
on in the therapy, she would slowly introduce me into the therapy that they were doing in the living room or in her bedroom, and she taught me how to do protective holds. So when Naomi would start to bang her head on the floor or on the wall, she would show me, or even in a classroom setting. It got to a point where when I introduced her into preschool, they started slowly socializing her on those little activity tables, and a kid was just gently brush up against her arm, but to her, it felt like this kid was punching her in her
Push
throat
it.
or something,
Yes.
and
Heightened
so
sensation.
it was, yeah. So they diagnosed Naomi with what's called proprioceptive processing disorder. What she was feeling it was like her body couldn't regulate. So if you touched her on her arm, she would feel it somewhere on her leg at high pressure. And so an ABA therapist, once you get to a certain part, they want to teach you how to hold, to restraint, proper restraints, right? Um, and chime in, anyone. I'm just trying to relive what
Well,
I.
yeah,
Um, I
it
would
helps
love to
them
add something.
concentrate. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so they can concentrate and focus as well. Because if mommy's there, those kids are going to back away and run to mommy.
Let
Point
me
blank.
let me say let me say this. The goal really is to encourage independence and a bit of normalization. If you think about it, your regular children don't have their parents in the classroom. You want to encourage interaction with other adults and other children. Your children are learning social skills, learning how to socialize, and you may not always be there. So for me, when I started ABA therapy for Chance, knowing that the owner of the center that my son was going to encourages independence, that was very important to me. Um, you really don't want to coddle or increase dependency because that's not realistic. That's not how they're going to operate in the real world. You see what I'm saying? So for me, it's to help encourage normalization and independence at some point. So for example, Chance does have an RBT that is with him all day at school. I just recently found out that he's at the stage where when it's time for his speech therapy, he's going there alone without his RBT with him.
Yay! Good for
Hi,
him.
Yeah,
Chance.
that was. Oh, hey, you want to say hi to everybody? Hey, mommy. Yes, baby. I'm so sorry. There's a fly in here. A what? A fly? Yeah, there's a fly that got in the
Let's
house.
season it,
Yeah, and
Chance.
there's a pretzels for me. You want some? Uh-huh. Okay, you can have some. Miss Stacy said hello, and Miss Val,
Hi, Chance.
and Miss Low Key.
Hi,
Everybody
Chance.
say hi.
Hi.
You gonna say hi? He ain't. All right. Go
It's
ahead.
okay.
I'm
It's
gonna finish.
okay.
So,
So, yep. Continue.
yeah, that actually brought me to tears. That was an amazing accomplishment. So it's moments like that that we look forward to, and eventually the goal is for him not to. Miss Candy said hi, Chan. Um, um, So yeah, so I mean, at some point, and it scares the heck out of me, y'all. Like if when he gets to that point of not having to have assistance at school, oh my gosh, like I don't know what I'm gonna do, because it's hard for me too. Those transitions,
Yes.
woo,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
hard, y'all.
Does,
Yeah, it's hard
does
as a parent, but you have to do it. You want your child to be independent eventually. You want your child to feel normal in society, so it has to be done.
Correct.
excellent, excellent. S- I want to speak next on discipline, right? Last live I did, actually my first full live I did, we talked about old school parenting versus new school parenting. And now you have to consider, okay, well, how does that affect my child's autism journey, right? Where is that
Hmm.
fine balance? So I want to hear from each of you on how you navigate autism and discipline when it comes to your child or loved one.
Okay. Well, first, can I just ask the ages of the children we all have here again?
My daughter is 14.
14.
Okay.
Mhm.
Dante is 25.
Oh
Sammy, you,
wow. Okay.
yeah, he's a man.
Chance, yes. Okay. I love it. Chance is 8.
And Evangelist Val may have stepped
Champion.
away.
I'm
Oh, go
trying
ahead.
to think. I
Champion
think
Champions
six.
champion is still
5.
like.
Okay, I
Champion
was gonna say
side, yeah.
four.
Hmm.
Okay, because I'm like would have to go through a couple of stages on mine. So I
Okay,
don't know
I'm
if you
sorry,
want me
y'all.
to go
Um,
last.
wait a minute. What was the question?
We were talking
How
about
old is
how
champion?
5.
five, he's five. So the question was, how do we discipline? How do we go about um, implementing a form of discipline with our children? And I was trying to get the ages so that
Oh,
um,
okay.
I knew really where to start because Dante is the oldest out of the bunch.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So,
champion disciplines me. So,
We
hi,
know.
champion.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I have no answers to give. Champion runs this house. Um, being the seventh son, I don't,
I,
I don't
I
know what
would
you want
say
me to
this.
say.
Oh, I would say this. I really struggled with it, and I'm just gonna say this briefly because I'm really curious to see how y'all handle it. I really
okay.
struggled with it because I had to battle traditional views in my family. So by the time everything really hit the fan, I had to isolate and shut everyone. I ended up being single, sober, and celibate for Naomi's first almost 4 years of life, right? Because my
Hmm.
family just wanted me to whoop her behind, and I knew I could not because the few times that I did try and tap her leg, she started harming herself and trying to hit others. It
Yeah.
exacerbated the issue. And so that's when those restraints came in, that ABA therapy. Whenever she started having night terrors where I
Hmm.
thought it was a demonic possession at one point. I ain't even gonna hold y'all. I would be crying so hard. Plus, I was full time, still on active duty in the Marine Corps. It was just so much. And so I had to isolate and really navigate and, get down on her level. And she remembers that. That's why she mentioned it when I interviewed her earlier, not towering over her and screaming at her. When you scream at them, it shell
Oh,
shocks
yeah.
them. When you hit them, it manifests into further abuse toward either self-harm or harming someone else. So I
Right.
Hmm.
now, when it comes to Naomi, and she's a teenager now, I do not have to whip her. I have never had to really fully go there. I tell her that I'm disappointed or upset. And when I say her entire soul is crushed, I could just talk to her or look at her and she feels
Words.
everything. So that, and every child's different. So I'll open it up for you ladies.
Okay. You want to go first, Sammy?
I mean, for me, disciplining is hard because Chance is aware of like he's like, don't hit me, mommy, you know. So I find myself, I'll say I pop you, but I don't do it because he just it affects him. He gets sad, you know, and so but at the same time he doesn't listen. So for me, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I'm finding myself having to like negotiate or, try to find something to redirect him to try to get him to stop doing whatever it is I want him to stop doing. But um I mean that's where we're at with it now.
Okay. Yeah. My husband wanted to spank, and I was not a spanker. I think my daughter, she only got maybe three spankings her whole life, and she's 33 years old. And when it came to Dante and knowing these things, I was pretty hesitant about that. So what we used to do was make him stand
Mhm.
in a corner. We did do corner time. Um, we would do whatever was his favorite, take that away for a little bit. And then finally, it ended up we had to go through behavioral therapy where they started to teach us basically like what Sammy is kind of saying the negotiate. It's pretty much like negotiating with your kid. So if
Mhm.
you are behaved and you don't do these things, this is what you have to look forward to.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that worked for a pretty good while until he started growing out of it, because at the end of the week he was able to purchase stuff. Hence
Mm.
his love of shopping. Dante spends a lot of money. Okay.
They, they might be related, low key. Dante and Naomi.
Yes, the
Mhm.
money, it's like the store and what we getting
Oh,
and can
I'm
I buy,
so
well, okay,
glad
I
I.
just, yes,
My
yeah,
child is cheap, honey.
Wait
keep
on
it
it.
low. Keep it low, sweetie. I
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
promise you, keep it low, honey, because they get
Oh.
expensive. So
Watch
then
him.
I had to break out of it. Eventually I had to just stop it, because now what you were bringing up about the obsessive compulsive behavior, that was
Mm.
starting to show in the shopping. And if he could not get what it was that he wanted, then a rage would come. So now he's getting aggressive and handsy. And this last year and a half has been a lot, because he had
Mm.
finally graduated out of school. They allowed him to stay until 22. Um, then we had the death of my mother during that time. I was going through my own depression, losing my mother and my brother both in 2021. So Dante wasn't really active in a lot, and he was losing the structure that we had in place for him. So what I was doing, and I kind of fell into that hole with the shopping and allowing him to have and to do, because it made it easier for me. I was creating
Mm.
a monster. So when I got to the point where I said we have to say no, the rage would come. My son is 215 pounds. He's strong.
Mm.
I am
Wow.
139, and
Mm.
I have to tussle. I have
Oh,
to
wow.
tussle. So some people say, well, she's so little. How could she? No, I have to tussle. Um,
Mm.
so
Mm. That's hard.
Did you go out, low key?
oh, dag,
Uh-uh.
am I back?
Oh, we can hear you.
Yes, you are.
Okay,
You
I'm
back.
sorry. My screen had went black, so it was just really rough for a minute, because I said this is not the way. I can't tussle with my son. I can't have my husband tussling with. This is not how I want life to be. So
Mm-hmm.
then came the conversations, because I started to see when he gets upset, he's meeting us where we are. So if he's angry and he comes in and I don't like what he's doing, and then I may raise my voice, or he sees his face, it was all in my face. If he saw an angry face or a disappointed face, it would amp him up. So if I could just kind of let go and just have no reaction, he would back
Mm-hmm.
down. So now it's
Mm-hmm.
talking, and we can talk him through a lot. And I'm not speaking to you. So that's how I do. I work with him now. If this is the way that you want to behave and you're not understanding, we can't talk, and that eats him up. He wants his mother's attention. He wants his father's attention. So let me behave so I can get this. So yeah, getting those boundaries in place early are extremely important, and not deviating too much off of that, because the work you have to put back in to try to get it back on track is not easy.
Absolutely. Um, and I just have maybe a few more questions left, and then I'm going to wrap this up. I really love the information that we're sharing amongst ourselves and from the chat. Um, one thing I will add to what you were saying, low key. Um, I use one of those charts, and I forgot what it was, but I found it off of like Amazon or I think I got that one at Target. It was like a responsibility chore type chart, a reward chart,
Yes.
and you can add different little pieces on them. And I used to have Naomi with me, and I say, okay, we're gonna come up with the plan for the week. and she would pick out, make her bed, brush her teeth, like things that she would do for her routine.
Yep.
And for every day that she did it, and all throughout the day, her homework, whatever it was, walking the dog with me, um, making her bed, I'll put her little star. And at the end of the week, and it goes to speaking about, the reward, right?
Yes.
And it needed to be visualized, but also maintaining a routine and a boundary, just like you spoke of. And that truly helped. But then, because I was a single parent at the time, I found myself overcompensating and
Yeah.
buying her entire, from the time she was born, I was spending $2,000-$3,000 every Christmas on just her, just overcompensating. And it became, now we're crossing over into um, being spoiled, expectation management, and oh,
Yes.
by the way, I'm in a new relationship a couple years later. How did
Um,
you, I don't know who's married and who's not, how did y'all balance raising a child with autism and balancing your intimate
yeah,
relationship?
correct. Yes, because that definitely is a job there. So I was blessed to be home with Dante after giving birth to him until he went to kindergarten because I said I'm not going back to work until he can speak. And kindergarten was the time when he was able to truly speak. So I went back to work. I was there for 5 years. I got injured on my job, which I always say was God's blessing because my son needed me. And so therefore I became a stay-home mom. I was very hands-on with Dante. My husband was out at work. When my husband gets home, he would give me the break. And then we did have my daughter's help. I had my mother's help. So we would sometimes get a sitter to come and stay for the weekend just to be in the house with Dante. So this way he and I could pick up and go when we wanted to. Um, she spent the night that way we can lock our door at night, you know what I'm saying? That sort of thing. Or have grandma come pick him up so we can
Right.
just have our fun time. And it's even that way now. Um, he's now into a day program, starting getting strengthening his structure back again. And so we just take turns, me and hubby take turns with Dante. Like they may go out together to give me break time. I may go out with Dante, give him break time. And then we have an aide that will come and spend time with Dante so me and hubby can watch a movie uninterrupted, go get something to eat uninterrupted. It's someone else has to be a part of our lives. Um, but you have to have patience. And the person, this is my husband, we're together 28 years, so he knows this already. But new relationships, they have to be mindful that your child does come first. You do need a life, but they have to know that your child is different. That's all. And you're going to be hyper focused on your kid. And as long as they have patience, you guys can kind of work some things out. You can't, if they can't seem to recognize that you have a schedule, because that's the only way it's going to work. You have to set up some sort of schedule ahead of time. So basically, the same way you do it with her, with a schedule, a structure, a routine, whoever it is you're seeing has to understand that they have to fit into that. And that's not a lot to ask. Because if they care about you, they will.
How about thank you. I will say I was in a relationship, like I said, several years. I would say I got I got engaged actually when Naomi was 5, and I was terrified to even be in a relationship because if my daughter couldn't talk, I can't trust you. I needed her to be able to tell me,
Right.
is somebody hurting me? It did something happen? I needed her to be able to do that in order for me to be able to let my guard down, whether it's family, the school people, a relation. Mm-mm.
Right.
But Sammy, how has autism affected your if you're in one? I'm not sure.
Hmm. Um, for the most part of my son, like since he's been here, I've been with his dad. It's been like on and off, but for the most part, I do have the support of his dad, which is, I feel like I'm fortunate in that area. Um,
Yeah.
so and then having a routine is really good as well. Like, it's easier for me to put my son to bed at night, and once he's tucked in, that's my time, and I decide what I choose to do at that time um these days. So it works out pretty well for me. I'll say that, I think.
Yeah. Cause you gotta have a life. If you don't, you will get
You
lost
gotta have
in their,
balance.
yeah, in
Yeah.
their world. Everything will end up just being about them. Um,
Hmm.
and you
And
will, you won't be happy. I will say
And
that.
I'll say this. I'll say this. My hats off to, the moms that are doing it all on their own, because I can't imagine how difficult that is. It's a lot of work, with our children, and if you don't have that balance and that help, it can be really difficult. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, for me, I am fortunate in that area. Like if I do want to go away for a weekend, I can, you know, um, like I said, I'm able to balance and do things on my own at times.
That's
That-
beautiful.
That's a
I don't mean to
blessing.
get too deep, Sammy, but do you still
Mhm.
have your mom?
Yeah, but we live in different states.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Well, you
Yeah.
have a trusted person. Okay. Yeah, see,
Yeah,
my
his
mom,
dad.
I love
Hmm.
having my mom here. She was like, if he ever got upset or worked up, or he would go jump on his tablet and call his grandma. He would talk about me. Grandma,
Hmm.
I'm getting sick of her. Telling me that I can't go to the store. That grandma, do you think that tomorrow we can go to the
Oh
doctor?
yeah.
And she, yeah, we can go, Dante. And he goes, yeah, cause see, I don't care what they say about you, grandma. And she goes, it's all right. Wait, what they saying about me, Dante? I said, don't be telling my business. Don't be telling my business. He was sneaky with his grandmother, and so I know he missed her too.
Did either of you ever? Because I ended up bringing in my mother and taking care of her for several years due to her
Hmm.
disabilities.
Okay.
Um, One of the issues that I ran into with Naomi was she did not know that she could share me, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I never attempted to have another child at the time. It would literally be me, her, and my mother in the house. And something in her little bitty mind at the time as a little kid said, you cannot be loyal to this one. And then this way, it was just so strange how she compartmentalized, right? In her little mind, she's like,
Wow.
she couldn't be loyal to me at the same time as my mother. So, and if my mother and I did something, she felt tossed away. And I'm like, all she did was sit next to me while we're eating, or,
Mm.
so my daughter had to really learn how to, um, and I
Share.
don't, to share.
That's that
Correct.
social aspect.
Yep.
Yeah, that's part of the social part of
Yes.
it. For a long time, you know how kids do circle time in daycare and at school they do circle time on the rug. Chance would
Mhm.
be off, somewhere else on the other side of the room, for a very long time, and now, he is just circle time king. So it's gonna be these phases and these ups and downs, and um because I noticed with Chance for a long time, like there'll be something that he would do if it's like spinning a wheel on a toy. Um, something like that instead of properly, pretending it's a car. You know what I'm saying? But they would
Right.
just hyper focus on just the wheel and just keep spinning that. And so there would be things like that. And then they would overcome these things. Like there's always these lows and then these highs. So that's what we went through um, for many, many years. But now I think he's in a much better place and is thriving. Behavior is really good, and his social um behaviors have really improved. He has friends and he knows everyone's names, and so you guys, there's so many great things to look forward to, and it may seem hard right now, but it will definitely get better. And people used to say that to me all the time, and I would just be like, well, I can't wait for that day to
Right.
come, you know?
Right. Because when you in it, oh my God, when you in that
Yes,
storm
you
and you're
just want to just,
exhausted
oh,
and it's just
mm-hmm,
you're just like,
mm-hmm.
please, when you love your child to death, but it's a
Yeah,
lot of work.
yeah, it
It
is,
is. And you're
it
gonna
is.
have another change again, Sammy, once he starts to get preteen, and start
Mm-hmm.
going through the
Ooh, child.
hormones. That's a whole
Yeah,
nother set. So it's like relearning
Oh
him
Lord.
again. Yes.
right. Oh, I'm
I
not ready.
I was just going to I want to end this on a very positive note. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but right before I do that, I want if you could, from where you are today,
Hmm.
speak to the woman you were when you first started this autism journey. How would you encourage yourself with the information you
Mm.
have today? So if you know what I'm saying, how would you be able to speak and encourage the younger Sammy or the younger low key when you first embarked on this autism journey?
Well, see, it's
Take, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
Nope.
Go ahead, low
No,
key.
no, see, because it was just a little different for me. Now, where I said we didn't have anyone autistic in our family, I
Mm-hmm.
was introduced to we call it early interventions here.
Mm-hmm.
Getting the kid looked at and tested and da da da. I did nanny work for some time. So I had exposure to these steps being done and what to look out for. So when it
Mm-hmm.
came to Dante, I had already worked with some children that was slightly going through some things. And so when he came along, I was prepared. I was prepared. I was exhausted. I was tired. But I think the one thing I would say is, damn, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a
Mm-hmm.
thing. Stacey, I wouldn't change a
Yeah.
thing because I had the right support around me.
Yes, I
That's
love that.
good.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Sammy?
I mean, my thing would be to definitely take advantage of resources for sure, programs, just making those connections with other parents and um, whatever there is to offer, take advantage of it. I tell you, a lot of what I went through with Chance. Um, I was guided and assisted by, community resources. The very first program that I did was like a national advocacy program. So every week they would come into my home. We would go over discipline, different programs. We would. They would have things at the botanical with other children in the program, So you get to meet other families and
Yeah.
um, yeah, doing, they would have, beautiful Christmas dinners and let the kids take pictures with Santa. And it was just, it was great. It was great. And I was so grateful that I did that program. And I had signed up for it. They actually came and visited me when I gave birth to Chance. And I was like, yeah, that sounds really good. I'd love to sign up. And, every week we would go over different topics. They would provide me with different things that I could sign up for.
All the
There's
resources, right?
yeah, resources. Yeah, like
Yes.
Respis. Respis is a program where, they'll reimburse you money or they'll pay for childcare for you just so that you have me time, just so
Yes.
you're not having to, because those types of expenses are can be expensive, or you may not have that type of money in the budget. So there's respite care. Um,
Correct.
there's all types of things, you guys, that you can look into, and this doesn't have to be a bad thing. I also encourage moms and dads to really look at the signs early. The earlier, the better.
Mhm.
Don't wait until your child is, you know, 4 or 5, older in age. The earlier the better that you start seeing signs of, um, developmental delays and things like that. So, I also want to encourage that as well. That's really important.
Absolutely. And in addition, I'm glad you brought up the respite care. If you are a
Mhm.
military family or a civilian family, there are resources for that respite care, to where they will pay for those caregiver hours, certain amount of hours based on your level. For the military families, there's a program called ECHO. How do you spell ECHO? ECHO, right? And they also speak, Miss Cleo Baby been putting autismspeaks.org in our chat. There are so many resources, new parent resources, autism resources around your city, those groups, so that you don't feel alone, right?
Yeah.
Um, and to answer my own question, thank you for bringing up those resources, Sammy. Um, to answer my own question to you ladies,
You're
if
welcome.
I could talk
Hmm.
back to Stacy 14, well, I say 12 years ago, because she got diagnosed a little before, about a year and a half, 2 years old. Um, I would tell myself to be kind to myself. I felt
Hmm.
so guilty, like I had done something, and then I was working 14-hour days in the Marine Corps, and I felt guilty because I had to leave my child at daycare for 12, 14 hours a day. So I dropped out of church at the time because I felt so embarrassed when my daughter was having these tantrums. I felt
Yeah.
like I was a horrible mother, a parent, because I could not figure out how to fix things, right?
Yeah.
And I was so critical and hard on myself, so I would just tell my younger self, be kind, embrace it, don't be afraid to challenge. I challenged those doctors, I advocated for my baby, but I also challenged my family norm, and I isolated. If I was
Right.
to look back on then, I would tell myself, girl, you don't have to isolate yourself, humble yourself, and go find a new village.
Right.
Okay?
Hmm.
That was something that I really, and I don't regret anything, because listen, I learned so much. This journey of autism, the connection that me and my daughter have, it's so many of her classmates that are like, "Oh my God, you're so close to your mom." They envy that, and I don't, they're
Yeah.
like, they look at me as like the cool mom, but then they also know, like, we got to be respectful, because I'm like, I
Yeah.
ain't your friend, I'm your, I'm your mama, girl. Don't play with me, you know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But that
But they can
bond
be
is
that way.
unbreakable. Yeah. Yes. So that's, I mean, just to encourage anybody that's out there, you're not by yourself. A lot of us do
Yeah.
have this common denominator, which is autism at the, the common denominator at the bottom. But there are so many different experiences and people out here and resources. You're not by yourself. You're
You're
not.
not.
Mhm.
Reach out. You don't have to do it on your own. Especially too as Black women, a lot of us feel we're inbred that way. We're strong. We can, but you don't have to. You
Right.
don't.
Right.
And
That's
trust you. Trust you. My daughter reminded me, she said, she told me that I had to trust that I raised her well,
I love that.
you
I
know?
love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
Yes.
she's
that's
amazing.
very
She is
true.
amazing.
And so my final question to you both. Um, Tell me one beautiful moment or one beautiful epiphany have come to as a parent of autism.
Just how different in an amazing way that my son is. Some of the things that he's able to do that he was doing young shows his gift.
Mm-hmm.
My son used to be able to, because where we lived, the apartment on top of my mother's home before we purchased our home, we used to have family come in and out of the house. And Dante knew who was coming through the door without even turning around. He knew he would say, "Hi, Hakeem." Hakeem would say hi, and he'd look up there, and Dante's back is turned. Or another one's coming through the door. "Hi, Aunt Grace." And she's like, "How does he know it's me?" He could pick up on the way the doorknob turned, the way their steps were, the way a cough happened. And his memory is amazing. And I said, my son is so gifted. He he loves hard, and he was teaching me more and more patience. And I said, wow, I didn't know I didn't have that at that time. So my son taught me what true patience really is. And
Mhm.
I'm always grateful for that. I'm always
Yeah.
grateful for that.
That's beautiful.
Uh,
What about you,
yeah, I
Cindy?
agree 100%. Yeah, I would say patience as well. Um, and that was something, especially, before I had a chance, that was something I struggled with. I was a very impatient person. But he's definitely um bring that patient side out of me. So
I
I
love
agree
you
with that
too.
100%.
I
Mhm.
think
You
for
don't know
me,
Sammy.
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Dante's walking in this room. Is that Sammy, mommy? I'm just like, you don't know that's
Hi,
Sammy.
Dante.
Hey.
Listen, I'm trying to end the live. Can I talk to you when I get off? Yes, I'll plug up the galaxy for you. Oh,
I
tomorrow,
love
yes.
it.
Give me a kiss.
Right? Hey, Dante.
Hi,
They said
Dante.
hello. They said hi. This is Sammy.
Hey.
Yes.
Hi.
This is Stacy. She's a little. Is that a grown lady or a little girl?
That's a little girl, but that's when I was little. That's me being
That's
little.
that's young Stacy.
That's little Stacy,
That's little
Little
Stacy.
Stacy.
the one that would use that face to get her way. Okay.
All right, go ahead, go ahead. Let me get off, and
I,
I'll talk to you in 1 second. I don't even know why he's still up, but go ahead. I'll see you in a minute, Stink. I still call him Stink. He always gonna be my Stink.
oh, my daughter, I call her Nanny Bear. Nani. And that song I had played, Sing to Me, that's me and her favorite song. Um,
Oh,
but just to, I say to wrap this up, the beautiful moment or epiphany that I experienced is, like I said, decided to conceive and give birth to her to my child, because I was just a walk-in shell after combat, and it sounds very selfish to. It's not that I wanted to place a burden of saving my life on another little baby. That's not what that was, but I needed something. And so for me, I felt so guilty for all the things that I had to do in combat. When I was blessed enough to carry her and then deliver my daughter, I felt like God gave me a second chance at life to right my wrongs. And so a life that was very black and white for me, I just ended up getting this burst of color. My daughter is an artist, okay? And she brought not just art to her canvas, but she brought color to my life. And I was also adopted. And so to be able to be a vessel that God approved of, to give birth to my child, God picked her out specifically for me, and vice versa. You know,
I feel that about my baby. I'm like, I was meant to be your mother.
Yeah.
I was meant to be your mother.
And it's challenging. I can't pretend. None of us can pretend like navigating autism has just been peaches and cream. I think we kind of nailed that out tonight.
Right.
But I wouldn't change it. But I wouldn't change a thing.
I sure wouldn't. Sure wouldn't. Not at all.
And so
I doubt that we could, but
all right. Right.
So it was meant to be this way.
But I just want to open up the floor. If you guys have any last things you would like to say or put out, I'm going to play one song that I specifically chose for this live after we all drop down, that I want to be a blessing and encouragement for other people, even if it's just one person. It's about quality, not quantity over here. And I'm just so grateful and appreciative for you, Sammy, for you, Low Key, and for Evangelist Val coming up here and sharing in your experience. And even especially to my daughter, I was nervous. She was not. She was like, I got this.
Yes, because they love this. They're confident. They are confident, and they know what they mean what they say. That's just how they roll. No, I appreciate this. I know you've been wanting to do this for a while.
Yeah.
You've spoken about this, and it's finally come to fruition. I'm glad to be a part of it. I really am. I was worried, because we know the streets are wild. This was so relaxing. It was nice getting to know about your children. It really was. It was nice to get to speak to you, Sammy, because I've never spoken with you. So this was really nice. And I look forward to being over on your channel as well.
Oh, thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yes, please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Sammy. And Low Key, do you have a channel?
No, I'm still not on and popping yet.
It's all right.
Right, that's okay.
Look, notice I said yet.
If one of the
shout out to you for doing this channel.
If one of you could put Sammy's channel, Quality Queen TV, in the chat.
Thank you.
Please subscribe.
Thank you,
yeah, let's be a blessing to each other. But go ahead, Sammy. The floor is yours.
Yeah, this was amazing. Shout out to you, Stacy. Great show, and I really enjoyed myself. Thank you so much for having me. It was really good to hear other stories and our struggles and our similarities too, and just to hear how great our children are doing and what they've overcome. I love conversations like this, so hopefully we'll do more. And I appreciate everybody. Make sure you guys check me out. And if you are not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, Quality Queen TV. Thank you.
Yes. I'm not sure if somebody could drop that in the chat for me. Well, I want to thank both of you, and like I said, Evangelist Val, for coming up here. One of the songs that brought me through, helped me out, Leandria Johnson is one of my favorite gospel singers. And I want to just kind of end this live on one of the songs that is called Better Days that got me through.
All right.
Yes.
You want us to drop, Stacy, so you can go ahead?
Yes. I'm gonna go ahead and drop.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
What happened to Val?
Good.
She fell off the porch, girl.
She got
she be falling
champion.
off the porch. Evangelist Val, climb up the fire escape, sis. Okay? You know she over there. Mm-hmm. She'll be up the fire escape. And thank you to all my moms.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed this live. And thank you to Miss Cleo Baby, to Sherry Cooper, Yolanda the Great. I don't know if I saw Tremaine, but thank you, JB, Meek, and Tangible Chick. Let's see who else was here. Tiara, my brother C Dove. Go follow Honeycomb Hideout as well. All right. Very good lives going on over there as well. So Incoming Opinion and the Opinionators. Thank you all, JB, Nick Cherie, for coming through. This live meant so much to me and to my daughter. And we finna be out. Let me play this song on the way out. And I appreciate you. Peace and love. This is Section 8. Adventures through adversity, baby.
And you feel all alone, but hold on, better days are coming. It can be rough in this world. I know it ain't easy, but hang on in there. I know better days are coming. You seem good, you seem bad, you've been happy and sad. But just remember that better days are coming. Will leave you all by yourself, but don't cry, 'cause better days are coming. Better days. I'll see it. Days are coming. It's already a season for you going through, Stay focused and never lose sight. I know people, they don't see the hurt you feel inside. Keep on smiling, 'cause everything will be alright. Better Days are coming. Better days are coming.